Hey everybody, I'm going to try to play through a little bit of the tutorial to give everyone here a rundown of how to set up the game, how to start playing. I'll then cut to completing the tutorial and moving on to the world map, moving around the world map and seeing how all of that interaction works. I'll run through a slumber as well, or at least part of one, so you can see how that works. And finally, how we end up getting keys and entering your first real dream, and I'll leave it there. This is going to be unscripted, unedited, and fairly off the cuff, so hopefully everyone enjoys it and learns how to play. So grabbing the starting card, the rules tell you to get the Dream Gate. For the setup, we need to take the turn deck, all 12 cards of the turn deck, give them a shuffle, and flip them up onto this spot here. We also grab the Fate and the floor decks, give them a shuffle, put them face down here. And then we take all of the 0-1 setup and tiles and cards and get them all ready to go. Now that tells us to reveal the setup tile on the Dream Gate here. So we'll reveal it. It's got A2 up the top, and so we'll place it up on the A2 slot of the board, just like so. The little blue whirlwind is where we're going to put our starting characters. I'm going to be starting with the tough guy and the gambler. I'm going to do two so that you can see how the interactions between the players also works and how turn orders can work, that sort of thing. So we take both of the miniatures for them. They can start on either of these spots because the blue whirlwind straddles both of these two quadrants. So I'll put one up here and one down here. And we take the corresponding initiative decks and just place them off to the left hand side. Make sure there's space underneath for any progress cards and space to the right for the discard pile. All of these cards we leave face down. The game will tell us if and when we need to reveal them and how to make that work. And then we start the turn. So each of the characters draws up to either 4 cards or to your hand size of 6. You can only ever draw a maximum of 4 cards. At the moment, we don't have any in our hand currently. So we're each going to draw 4 and flip them over and have a look at what we've got. And same with the gambler. There we go. Now we go up here to the board. Let's have a look at the different actions that we can do. So the tough guy up here is on a spot where there's a one-time action of 3 cunning times the number of players, so a total of 6, and we can check the yellow altar, read script 159. We can do that. Down on this one here, for 1 awareness, we can gain 1 blue gem. The blue gems can be used for re-rolling anything that you have to roll for your character. Up here, 6 awareness, you can check the green altar. Down here, 1-off action of 6 wrath. This is an assault action. Check the red altar. Now, assault action, it says assault. There's 2 special actions that you can find in this game, assault and contact. Those ones can be done at a range of 1. All of the other actions on these tiles need to be performed at range 0. So you need to be on the spot to do those actions. There's also one final action down here of, for free, try to open the door and read that script. So let's see what we've got over here on the cards. The tough guy, he's got a little bit of cunning, the yellow, and a fair amount of wrath, the red. You've also got some extra abilities down the bottom here that you can use instead of spending these currency up the top. You can do the action down the bottom. They might have a cost associated. We'll go through that. And down here, we've got something similar. So, first things first, let's go with the tough guy. He's going to be the first player. I'll grab the first player marker, although I don't tend to use it. It looks like that one. And what's he going to do? He is currently at the spot with the cunning. I can spend 3 cunning. I do have 3 cunning. But he's also got a lot of wrath, and he might actually be better suited at trying to do the assault on the other part of the tile. So instead of doing the action on the location that he's on, he's going to spend 1 cunning. So we put that in the discard pile, just to move 1 space down with the gambler here. Now I'm in range to do the assault action. It costs 6 wrath. And down here I've only got at the moment 4 wrath. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I've got some other abilities down here. Now technically it's the gambler's turn. According to the rule book, you have 1 action, then you pass and you keep going around. But because any player can pass at any time, as long as you both don't pass at the same time, then the turn ends. But if the gambler decided, no, I'll pass for now, tough guy, you go again, I'll just come back here. So it's essentially, it's free play anyway. You play until you've all decided to pass or you run out of cards. So the gambler now is in range 1 of this assault action. It says assault there, otherwise it would just be a wrath action. If it didn't have the word assault there, it's just a normal action. He needs 6 wrath, he's only got 4, but if you look down here, we've got hesitation. And anytime action for free, I can seal this card to gain 3 of either awareness, cunning, or wrath. I'm going to seal this card. Now that's not the same as discard to get my 3 wrath. Sealing the card face down, that gets me 3. That card does not get reshuffled into my deck when I do a reshuffle. That card is essentially out of my deck now until I unflip it and get it back. So that was 3. I've got another 2 here and another 1 here. These 2 can just be discarded for a grand total of 6. So I've got enough up there. Check the red altar and read script 234. Now I'm not going to read the script, but I will update the map according to what it says. So I won't give you any story spoilers, but I will update everything. Okay, so the effect of doing that assault action on the red altar is we take one of these and place it onto our dream gate tile, and because it's a one-off action, we take this token and put it up on the board there. So as you can see, there's a little symbol there, so it is a one-off action. So that one we can't do again. Now it's the gambler's turn, because the tough guy is out of cards. He can't do any more. He can gain 1 gem for spending 1 awareness, 1 green, or they can move and start trying to look at the yellow altar or possibly the green altar. Now we do have a little bit of movement here. So we'll spend this 1, and that gets us just the 1, which up here is all we need to get a blue gem. So we'll just pop the blue gem on there. We've still got these cards left. I'm going to spend this 1 just for 1 movement. So it is a little bit of a waste of movement there, but I'm going to move my gambler just 1 space onto where the tough guy was, and now I'm going to try to check the yellow altar. Now, it's also a one-off action, as you can see. It costs 3 cunning times the number of players. There's 2 players or 2 characters, so it'll cost 6, but I can do it in 2 lots of 3. And that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to, as you saw before, I'm going to seal this card and get 3 cunning. So flip that one upside down. I get my 3 cunning, which is enough to do half of it. So I take a cunning token and just put it on there. Somebody else on their next turn will need to finish that off. But because I'm the gambler and I like to gamble, and I've got a reroll token, I am going to try to use the luck die. So to use the luck die, I can roll this die after I've spent at least 1 influence, and I've currently spent 3 on this action, and I'm going to try to complete this action by rolling the luck die. There is only one side of this that has 3 pips, and I need all 3 to be a success, otherwise it's a waste. But I do have a reroll available to me. So I'll give that a try and see if I can succeed straight away. And I rolled nothing. Doesn't add anything, doesn't take anything away, but I'll spend my blue gem and roll again. And I got a 2, so not enough to do anything. If I had rolled an X, the whole action would automatically fail. I would have taken that yellow token that I put up there back off, and I would have taken a wound. So it is a risk. There's only one X on there, so it's a 1 in 6 chance of having a total failure, but that's all right. So I didn't get enough to complete that action, but it's halfway there. And that is one turn done. I've got 1 card left on the gambler and no cards left on the tough guy. The current turn step, we would roll the dice, do a basic effect, and do a morphing. At the moment, we don't have an entity out, so none of those do anything. We'll just flip that over to the discard pile, and we'll come back for our next turn. We'll draw 4 more cards for the tough guy. He's now got 4 cards again. And the gambler also draws 4 cards, but now they'll have 5 in their hand. So we'll start this time. We'll give the first player token to the gambler. The gambler has decided that they're going to finish off that action that they're at. They'll spend these 2 cards to get 4 cunning. They only needed 3, so this action is done. And I'll update, same as before. I won't read the script or spoil anything, but I will adjust appropriately on the map. All right, so we've placed another token up here because that was a one-off action for this dream. And we've placed a second gem on top of this one. And now the gambler's got 2 cards left. They're going to decide what to do. They're just going to pass for now. We'll move on to the tough guy. He's going to move again. Now, he's only going to spend this one. He's not going to do the bottom action. Just going to spend it for 1 movement. But he's also going to try to roll a luck die and just get 1 more movement. So he's spent 1 so far. Roll the die. And nothing. So he's just going to stay there. And he's going to end his turn. So again, we come down here. There's no creature out, so none of this would happen. Flip it over. And draw up the next turn. Only drawing 3 now for the tough guy, because his hand size is a maximum of 6, so he's at 6 cards. Same with the gambler. Draw up 3 more cards to a maximum hand size of 6. The tough guy is the first player again. Now he wants to move 1 and do this action to check the green altar. So let's have a look at what we've got. None of those are particularly good, whereas the gambler has a bit more of an option down here. But instead, the gambler, I'm going to show you something else. So we've got a progress card here. It has progress up the top. Instead of playing it for wrath, I'm going to place this progress card. To do that, it's going to cost me, it'll tell you the cost up the top, and it is always different for the different cards. This one costs 4 wrath to place. So I need to find 4 wrath in my deck of cards. I've got another one of these cards that I will seal for 3. And I'll spend this one for the 4th. This card then gets placed underneath the player board of the gambler. And now I have this ability. This new ability costs me 2 cunning. And I can increase the action range to 2. And roll a luck die to get additional wrath if I need to. That's pretty good. But it has left me a little bit short on what I'll need to do to complete that altar. Because the altar says 6, it doesn't have a number of players or anything else. Everyone has to one person has to do a total of 6 in one go. I can't break that one up. I'll spend this card for movement. I will move just the 1 space. And then I've got 4 here. I could attempt to use the luck die, but I think I will just wait my turn. And the gambler instead is going to spend 2 movement, and he is going to come down and try to open the door. That's a free action, but he's not going to do that yet. He's going to wait because I'm pretty sure we're going to need to check the green altar before this door is going to open. So again, turn ends, we've all passed, we take another turn card. The tough guy has 5 cards, so he only needs to draw 1. The gambler has 2 cards, so he draws 4 up to his hand size of 6. Now we have lots of awareness, lots of green, which is what we needed. We'll straight away do that check alter action, spend 3, and follow the script. Now this one does not have a one-time action, but we'll see what the rules say. And by that I mean we'll read the script and just follow what it says. I won't read the script to you. Again, no spoilers. I'll just update as appropriate. Okay. Even though on the map it didn't have a one-off action, once you read the script you'll see that that actually happens. That does happen as well. Sometimes the script will block that action a further time. Sometimes it's on the board itself. And we've added our 3rd gem to the dream gate. Now the tough guy, he's going to have his turn. He is going to try to open the door and read script 823, and I'm not going to spoil any of that for you. Okay, so that script was a big one. A lot of different things happened. Most notably, we got a second map tile added, A3. I've put it in the appropriate spot. We've also spawned our first entity, something wicked. It has a movement value of 4. To get rid of it, assault. It's an assault action. It requires 6 wrath times the number of players, but you can step that one, so 2 lots of 6. And it doesn't kill it, it just relocates that entity back to the spawn point. Whenever you do spawn an entity, it always spawns on one of these little purple ones. If there is multiple spawn points, the players get to choose. However, some of the spawn points also have one of the suit symbols on them. If there is a suit symbol that matches the current turn when it spawns, you have to prioritize that location and then spread them out evenly. So at the moment there's only one spawn spot, that's fine, he spawns there. Now he's got 3 different actions down here. You've got morphing, basic effect, and special effect. These are going to get done at the end of the player turn when you go to the turn card. So in this particular instance you would resolve the special effect, then the basic effect, then roll for movement. We'll do that shortly once the players finish their turn, because we're not done yet. Having a look back up here, we've got a few new options of what we want to do. Do we want to close doors? Do we want to pull some levers? Do we want to go into secret tunnels? And the tough guy here, he's got an option as well of trying to get through that door and close it. Okay, so the gambler up the top is going to move. They're going to move just 1 space, and I'm going to spend this card for the 1 movement. That's going to put them into this room here, and then the tough guy is going to move also. He's going to spend this card here to move 1 space through this open door. Now, I'm going to get the gambler to spend 1 contact and try to close that door. And that's fine. We've got a couple of cards here with contact. I'm going to choose this one. And I'm going to read script 83. I won't spoil anything, but I assume since it says on the board, it's going to close that door behind me. Okay, that has indeed closed the door behind him. The gambler is going to pass for now, and the tough guy is going to pass. The gambler is going to spend 1 more cunning down the bottom there to enter the secret tunnel. He's got 1 more cunning on this card. He's now out of cards, but that's okay. I'll read that script and see what that says. Okay, so the gambler has moved through the tunnel, popped out on the other side down here. He's now out of cards, but the tough guy still has a bunch of cards. They're going to try to resolve. Actually, we're not going to resolve the script. We're instead going to make note of a few things and then just end the turn so we can see what the monster would do. In fact, I'm going to unresolve this movement card and put the gambler back there because that'll make things a bit easier to explain. One of the things to note, in the middle of this tile there is a moon. Because it's in the very center, it touches all 4 quadrants of this tile, which means all 4 quadrants of this area are in darkness. There's a bunch of effects that may happen that will say they only happen in darkness spots. All 4 of those ones are in darkness at the moment. Sometimes it'll be just in the middle of the tile, so it'll only cover 2, or in just one tile or one corner itself in one quadrant. Okay, so everyone decides they're going to pass. We resolve the current turn step. First thing we do is special effect. We look at this card, special effect. Each dreamer in range 2 seals 2 cards. A range is calculated orthogonally, just like the movement. You can't go diagonally. Nobody is in range 2. The tough guy looks like he is, but this door is closed. You cannot go through walls or doors to measure range unless it tells you otherwise. So he is not in range. He's hidden behind the door there, and the gambler is too far away. Then we resolve the basic effect. Each dreamer in range 1 suffers a wound. Again, nobody's in range 1. Then we roll for movement. Movement dice. The base character here has 4 movement. It's got it up there. All of the different entities you'll come across have different amounts. The movement dice has a number of different sides. None of them are 0. They will always move at least 1. If it has this arrow with little lines on the back, it'll mean that they move their full movement. If it has an arrow without any lines, they move just 1 space. And finally, if they roll and move this one, not only do they roll there and move their full movement, they get to roll the dice again. So we'll roll for the entity. He's only got 1 movement. They're always going to move towards the closest character that they can reach. If it's a tie, you get to choose where they want to go. He's only got 1 movement. He's going to come up here and start heading towards the gambler. He cannot reach the tough guy because the tough guy is fully behind a wall. And that, I think, is where we're going to leave this tutorial. I'm going to let you discover the rest, and I'm going to pop out the other side like the dream is complete and get everything set up for the... Okay, so you finished the dream. There's now a number of things that the script will tell you to do. First things first, you'll cure a couple of your wounds and unseal a couple of cards. Now, unsealing is different to flipping, and I'll explain that quickly because we didn't really get to do that before. Now, we've got progress cards down here. Some progress cards like this one give you a default action you can do whenever you want, as long as you pay the appropriate cost. Other progress cards that will come out later in the game, they give you a specific bonus and then they will tell you to flip them. Now, flipping cards and unsealing cards are not the same thing. Flipping cards or unflipping cards relates specifically to progress cards. Once you use that action, you would flip them. They stay underneath here. You've still only got a maximum of 4 progress cards down here. So that takes up a slot, and there are various things you can do to unflip those cards. This particular one does not require any flipping. You can just spend the required cunning to get the bonus whenever you want. Anyway, so we cure 2 wounds, unseal 2 cards. We then take all of the cards 41L, that's these ones, 41L, they relate to the characters that you've chosen to play. They go into your storage area. The storage area is this part of the board up here. They have a requirement if you hit one of those things, you get an additional script, so they just live in your storage area. Next, we get the Slumber Map deck. Now, the Slumber Map deck is tiles 36. We're told to just get the A cards. So there's 4 of them, if you can see. We give them a shuffle and put the 2 that have the word starting, if you can see that, on top. And they're the Slumber Map. Then we're going to take the cards 37, A, B, C, and D, which are these ones here. A is green, the rest are red. We give them a shuffle. We put A at the bottom. Then we take some new Dream Gates. We take Dream Gates 39B, 39O. 39B, 39O. These are new locations that we can go to in the world. It'll tell you the district you need to be in. It'll tell you how many keys you need to enter it. we also gain, it just says card D. Now, if you remember from the setup, there were a number of different cards from this particular encounter, 101. When it says just D, it's referring to the scenario you've just completed or that you're still in. So that's this card, 101D. We take that and flip it over, add it to your Wisdom sleeve card holder. I'm not going to show you mine because mine's already quite full because I'm a fair way through the campaign and I don't want to show you any more than I have to. But that's your first Wisdom card. Then it says to gain tiles S and T. These are the Dream World maps. I'm going to show you them and they are going to be spoilery as well. But here they are. There's T and here is S. So you flip them over. They've got locations. They live down the bottom half of your board. This is your Dream World. B2 and A2, they line up just like that. You gain some ether to spend. You get some shopping cards to add to your storage as well. They look like this. You'll get 3 of those. They live up here. And you take the Seasons deck. The Seasons deck, I know it tells you all about shuffling and not to shuffle and that. It doesn't actually make any difference whether or not you shuffle it. It tells you to put Ordinary Days on top. Whenever it tells you to change, it'll tell you exactly which card to change it to. It's never randomized. So that sits just above your world map there on Ordinary Days. Then we take your Awakening card, which is another Wisdom card, 41M. This also lives in your Wisdom sleeve holder. And now we resolve an Awakening. We discard all of your influence cards from your deck, hand, and progress zone. So over here, all of these cards get discarded. We cure all wounds and unseal all cards. So this unsealed card here. Reshuffle the influence market. That's the cards that are in here. And the item market, the fate and slumber deck. So you would give both of those a shuffle. You may change your dreamers if you want. There's a script for that. Then you rebuild your influence deck. So because we're just sticking with our characters, we would give these a shuffle, place it back here. We're all ready to go. You choose one of your masks as your active mask. I'm not going to show you the masks or what they do, but you'll have access to those. You restore 3 items. To do that, the game will instruct you to get some items. You give them a shuffle. You place, I think you start with 5 into your storage area. You randomly select 3 of those and put them face up onto these item slots. Whenever you use an item, the item will tell you that you can, as an example, you can always spend it on your turn for the influence that's just up here. So you would discard it back into your storage, not into the box, for the influence. Or there's an action down here. This one would cost 4 awakening, not awakening, awareness. And you can reshuffle your deck without penalties. And you also have to seal a card. And it just says discard this item. Discarding means back in your storage. Don't put it in the box. After that, you discard the current dreamscape, reveal the 2 set up slumber map tiles, and place your team miniature on the awakening location of the dream world map. So we take our 2 starting tiles, flip them over, go B2 and B3. Again, the blue whirlwind, we'll just chuck our characters on that spot, and we're ready to go if and when we draw a slumber to deal with. We also put our team token onto the world map. We take our slumber deck and we place it right there, and we get rid of everything from the previous dream. And we take that over. We're all set to go. From the awakening spot that we're on, our team token, we don't spend any movement or anything to stay here. we move around following the arrows as we need to. If we take a shortcut, which is a little small arrow, we take a penalty. The penalty is written on the bottom of the tile. So in this instance, we would go from Awakening down here. Resolve the blue arrow, that's a fate card. The fate card I've got, draw and place one Dreamscape slumber tile, and if there's a quirk slot, place this card here. Okay, we go back to our Dreamscape deck and we draw this card. Now, notice C4 is not on the left-hand side, it is in the middle. We have to line up this C4 with the C4 on the board to line up there. So it does straddle two spots, and that's okay. We take this card because this has a quirk spot. We put the card there, and that's it. Now, if we ever come to this spot, there is a bonus action. We can spend one awareness and roll a luck die to possibly restore one item if we roll a 2 or a 3. That's it for the fate card. We then come down to this spot, the red exclamation mark. That is your slumber deck. We draw the top and counter on the slumber deck. If any dreamer has 3 place progress cards or more. No, we do not. So put it at the bottom and we keep going. The goal here is we're trying to get keys. The keys are down here, and if we get 2 of them, we can enter one of the dreams, either the one in Suburbia or one in Metropolis. So we'll come down here, we draw another fate card. What do we got? Passage. Either seal one card, relocate the team to a chosen location of the Dreamworld map tile, or reshuffle the fate deck. It's unfortunate because we're one space away from getting a key, so we'll just reshuffle the fate deck. Alright, next spot, we move down here. We now get multiple actions here. The first one is we get a key. So take a key, place it in your storage area, then we would resolve another fate card, draw another Dreamscape slumber tile, and if there's a quirk slot, place this card. There is another, and it does have a slot. And again, the A2 is in the middle, it's not on the left. So it sits straddling over 2 spaces up here, and we place the quirk tile. Now this one is a little bit different. There is a slot up the top here where we can put 1 gem, and if the current turn suit is a heart, ignore any wounds taken during the Dreamscape phase. We have to activate that slot with that gem. The gem would sit in that spot up there, and that's for that to happen. There's also now the maximum range of assault actions is 1 and cannot be increased. Okay, we've drawn our fate card. We need to draw another slumber card. And we got a wraith behind my back. Now I'm going to show you how to resolve one of these, and I think that'll, after we finish that off, we'll be done. So, up the top, it takes you 4 turns and we spawn a wraith. Okay, so 4 turns. I've drawn 4 turn cards after shuffling, and here's our turn step. And we need to spawn the wraith because we've got up here a number of different spots, including a spawn point that has a club, and we are on a club turn. The wraith gets spawned on that spot. The rest of it, we need to know, we can spend 7 awareness to place 1 light token on the tile. You can assault only when the wraith is not in a darkness space. You'll notice most of these spaces are darkness spaces, except for where I am currently in the one next to it. But you can add light, so that'll block the darkness space, and 6 slots of assault with either cunning or wrath to beat him out. You've got to hit him twice because there's 2 characters, and then it's got the different abilities that they do. If you run out of turns or you decide to skip him, then there's a resolution you can do down the bottom. Most encounters have this, not all of them do. Obviously the punishment is not going to be great, so it's best to try to fight them if you can, or if you think you can. So let's get going on this one. We reset our characters because of the awakening, so they've both got to redraw their deck and start all over again. So tough guy's going to draw 4 cards. It's very difficult to do one-handed when they're this slippery. Alright, so I've drawn 4 cards for both of my characters. Now, I need 6 Wrath or 6 Cunning, and only can hit him when he's in range of light. I don't have enough Cunning, enough awareness to put a light token down. And I don't have any ability down the bottom here that's going to let me add any light. Some of your abilities can do that, but I don't have that out. So instead, I think I'm going to stay put. So we both pass straight away, go to the turn action, basic effect. Basic effect over here. Each dreamer at range 0 or in a darkness space suffers a wound. We're both in a light space, so we're fine over there. Then we roll the movement dice. He's got the one with the line, which is his full movement of 2. So he's going to go 1, 2 towards us both. And he's still in a darkness spot, unfortunately, and resolve the basic effect again. No one is still in a range 0 or in a darkness space, so no more wounds. That turn ends. We've got 3 more turns to try to get him. Now, we come back over here, draw up to our hand size of 6, because we already had 4 cards. Down here, and how are we looking? Okay. We're looking like the tough guy can probably do 6 with his Wrath, but the gambler is going to have a hard time doing 6 Wrath or Cunning. But he is the gambler, so maybe I'll try to win by doing something else. But for now, the Wrath is in darkness and I can't light up the area. So at the moment I can't hit him, I can't do anything. So I'm going to pass again. We come over here. Now he's going to do Morphing, which is add 1 Morphing and then discard all light tokens. So we don't have any light tokens. Morphing is a bunch of tokens with red backs. I'll draw one out. Okay, I've drawn +1 wound. So whenever we get wounded now, any of the actions that hit us with a wound, they'll do an additional wound. There are other tokens in there. For example, this one here, +2 seal. If we would normally, if one of their actions would make us seal a card, we would seal an additional 2. That does not mean that their normal actions, for example, the basic action of the Wraith, if he had that particular token, he's not going to start sealing our cards on a basic action. However, if you look at the special action, if we had that token, you can either spend 1 blue or suffer a wound and seal 2 cards. That would then be, if we didn't have this token, we would suffer a wound and seal 4 cards. So the +2, it always adds to what the entity already does. Same with the wound. This one, because both the basic and the special effect can potentially wound you, they're both going to hit you for 2 now instead of 1. But if the monster wouldn't seal cards or do anything else that's on the token, they don't automatically gain that ability. It only enhances the abilities they've got. Right, then it's going to do a basic effect again. All creatures in range 0 or in a darkness space suffer a wound. There's nobody. And then he's going to move. He's going to move into the light, which is what we want. Okay, now he's rolled his full movement and then plus again. He's already going to move straight into our spot. There's no point in re-rolling the movement because he's happy where he is. And then we discard the card. We've only got 2 turns left, but I'm pretty sure we're going to be able to take him out now, if we're lucky. We've both got a hand size of 6 at the moment, so we draw nothing. But we're going to start hitting him and hitting him hard. We need to spend, on the tough guy, he's going to spend his 6. Wraith. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we hit the Wraith once. So I'll just put that token on there to say that he's been hit once. Now, another thing I should point out, it's the assault is 6 times the number of players, or cunning 6 times the number of players. I can't do a half and half. I can't resolve the other half with my gambler with cunning, because we've started with assault, we need to finish with assault. So the gambler needs to hit with assault. That's okay. We've got this card here. I'm going to gain 1 wound to gain 3 wrath. So I'm going to take a wound. I've got 3, and then I will spend another 3 wrath to hit him for a total of 6. He's done. We resolve then, chase him out, which is he's gone, and we gain loot. To gain loot, you look at your turn card. Whatever the turn card says is the loot. In this instance, would resolve this secret card or gain 1 key. They're both really good options. I'm not going to give away what any of those do, but obviously the key is very nice. It gets you closer to your goal. In fact, we're just going to go ahead and take that key. All right, we've got 2 keys now. On completion, we stay where we are. We don't discard any cards. We just get rid of the Wraith. The Wraith has been taken away, and we keep going. We'd move then to the train station. We can't do anything there at the moment. We come back down here. We draw another slumber card. Okay, this slumber card, the Dreamer has 4 place progress cards or more. Remove the slumber tile from the game. We don't, so that's just discard. We come down here and we can come up here and go shopping. Now at the end of the tutorial dream, we did get a bunch of ether that we can use to spend. To go shopping, we've got these shopping cards. So we flip it over. We can buy influence cards or buy a random item. To get the cards, you can choose to do that action. You draw 3 cards out of the box and then buy as many as you want. You don't have to just buy 1. They go then in your discard pile if you choose to. If you choose to not buy any of them, you can just gain 1 blue crystal. If you want to do an item, again, you just draw 1 random item from the item market and you can buy it for 2 ether. If you don't buy it, you can take a blue gem instead. Now, if you want to draw the 3 cards and look at them first, that's fine. You can look to see if you can or want to buy the cards, and if you just don't like any of the cards, then you can discard them and take your blue gem. You're not required to, but you will be required on completion to discard this card back into the box. You started with 3, and most of the dreams on completion, if you're successful, will get you this card back into your storage again. Coming back down here now, we move on to the portal. That's our dream gate. We can spend our 2 keys to enter this particular dream because we're in Suburbia and we've got now 2 keys, and this will give us the new setup. To do the new setup, we take all of these slumber cards and the fate cards. The fate cards go at the bottom of the deck. All the slumber cards get shuffled and discarded back into its spot over on the side here. Putting the starting ones back on top. The slumber deck remains unchanged. And at the moment, the slumber deck now has this green one on top. That will be resolved when you do your next action over here. But we're going into the dream instead. And I think now you're as good as you're going to get at playing this game. If you have any other rules questions, hopefully I can figure out how to turn on comments and see how you go. Thanks.